All right, y'all. NBA Alchemy Monday morning. You already know what time it is if you click the link. Anthony Davis has requested a trade out of New Orleans. The writing's been on the wall for a while, man. This shouldn't be shocking to anybody. I mean, I know a lot of people may have thought like, oh, well, he's not going to actually request it. He's just going to wait till this summer and turn down the Supermax. Well, nah. Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, AD's new agent, the fix is in, right? Well, before we go ahead and start printing Anthony Davis Laker jerseys, let me throw out two little crazy hypothetical moves that could be made. First up, Boston Celtics. Now, I don't know the specifics of this rule. I believe it's called the Derrick Rose rule. But every now and then the NBA releases these rules to kind of try to fix the loopholes within trades and free agency to make sure teams don't exploit things. And somehow the acquisition of Kyrie Irving to the Celtics fits this rule where they can't acquire Anthony Davis with Kyrie on the roster this season. So they had planned to wait till the summertime and then throw all these assets that they've been stacking up at the New Orleans Pelicans. Well, now that the bidding war is open, things have changed, right? They're putting the pressure on the Lakers and whoever else thinks that they can acquire him. The problem is there's not a lot of teams that are going to have enough faith to offer anything in hopes of keeping Anthony Davis, right? That's what we can see. But let me just throw this out. And I know a lot of you that turn into this channel are like, Alk, I want the Celtics Warriors breakdown. Well, go check my Patreon, man. 17-minute full breakdown. I promise you won't be disappointed in that. But let me move on to this. What's to stop Danny Ainge from throwing them Kyrie Irving right now? Like, okay, fine. You could have Kyrie. Obviously, things aren't as expected in Boston. We've seen, I don't need to document it. Y'all know what time it is and what's going on with the chemistry there. Now you're going to ask me, well, why the hell do the Pelicans want Kyrie? Because we know as soon as July 1st hits, he's on his way to Brooklyn or New York. Fair. But that's just to match the salaries of Anthony Davis. The real gem is Jason Tatum. What if Danny Ainge is willing to part with Jason Tatum right now? We'll give you Tatum, a draft pick, and Kyrie for Anthony Davis. Celtics fans, what time is it? Y'all let me know. Now, Tatum is kind of, he's not living up to expectations right now, and there's a lot of reasons for that. He was anointed next. There's some pressure, the chemistry, and it's way too early to write him off. We've seen too many sophomore slumps, but it's beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What does New Orleans view Tatum moving forward? What is their trajectory? Because a lot of teams and fan bases, when these trade scenarios come up, they value quantity over quality. You go, why would I want Tatum when I could get Ingram, Lonzo, and Kuzma, right? 3 for 1. Fair, but what are the chances of either of any of those three players being a superstar as opposed to Jason Tatum being a superstar? So sometimes you have to think of it that way. Again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying Danny Ainge is a wild boy. The Lakers, Celtics, the history there, like, it wouldn't shock me if he did something crazy to try to undercut the Lakers and acquire Anthony Davis. I have one more hypothetical proposal because, mind you, the teams that are trying to acquire him, they have to sell AD that, they got to go have deep playoff runs, right? They got to be contenders. The only other team that I could think of was the Philadelphia 76ers. You go, well, what's going on there? Well, you offer him Markelle Fultz for whatever that's worth. I don't know. Again, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? But you offer Ben Simmons. Remember, he played at LSU. It's not like he necessarily ingratiated himself with the fan base down there. He didn't do that. But Ben Simmons, Embiid, this Sixer thing, man, Ben Simmons is going to need a team to be built around him. You can't build a team around Embiid and then put Ben Simmons in. It doesn't exactly fit, and that's what you're seeing in Philadelphia. So Fultz, Ben Simmons, and Wilson Chandler to make the salaries match, and you bring in AD to Philadelphia, and now you have maybe the most dynamic front court we've ever seen in the league history. Embiid and AD. And it is a risk. You're running a risk. If Anthony Davis chooses to walk in the summertime, he very well could. But you're doing that at hopes at making a push through the Eastern Conference, perhaps making a finals appearance. And Embiid, he is so charismatic. If he wants AD to stay, he's going to make a hell of a sales pitch, right? So I'm just throwing those two out there. Warrior fans, I know we're greedy and you're like, well, we want AD. Here's the thing. What do? You call up, you offer Clay and Draymond. Would you do that right now? Would you stir the pot right now and threaten the chances of our three-peat? And then New Orleans is going to hang up on that call anyway because Draymond and Clay are in the prime right now. And they will be walking soon. They're not going to be able to retain them. And their trajectory to rebuild, they want young pieces. So that's out of the question. But Philadelphia and Boston, I think they at least got to pick up the phone, right? All right, well, let's move on to what's really going to happen, right? It's going to be a trade with the Lakers. And I think the starting point for the trade is Ingram and Kuzma, right? That's like on the table immediately. I think the question is, and perhaps a draft pick, the question is, who is the third piece? Is it Josh Hart? Is it Lonzo Ball? Is it Zubac? Zubac all of a sudden has some value, right? But who is the third piece? If I'm the Lakers and I'm Magic Johnson, I want to hold on to Lonzo. And this is coming from somebody who's claimed very early on in his career he'll never be a star. And I don't think he will be. I don't think he has the mentality. And I think that the jumper will forever be an issue. But that doesn't mean that he can't be a nice piece, especially along LeBron and Anthony Davis, because he is an elite defender, and then you see his vision in playmaking, right? They're not going to need him to score. So I'd try to hold on to Lonzo, but you could make the same argument. Josh Hart is a perfect 3-and-D guy, one of the few guys on this roster that fits with LeBron right now. So let's just say it's the big three, the Lakers' big young three. Lonzo, Kuzma, and Ingram get sent to New Orleans, AD comes in. Boom. Can the Lakers compete against the Warriors? Can the Lakers get to the finals, right? That's the question. Does that make them the immediate threat to the Warriors? My answer to that is no, man. Not in that move alone. Not in that move alone. And because you're gutting your depth. I'm not exactly thrilled with the Lakers' youngsters, and particularly Ingram. Right, he's another guy like Ben Simmons. I think you kind of got to build around him and give him the rock. That's why maybe he hasn't impressed. But you're just gutting their depth, in particular their wing and guard depth. Rondo just coming back, as nice as he looked. Y'all see that's finished, that cock back and finished with the left hand? As nice as he looks, injury-prone history, right? And you're just gutting that. You'd be relying on too young of players in your second unit. And so I don't think so, but that's not to say that Magic Johnson and these Lakers won't make another move. Let's say you send out those three for AD. What about Zubac? Now you're kind of front court heavy. I mean, you've got Tyson Chandler, you've got JaVale in a platooning role at center, right? Could you cough up Zubac and bring back some wing help, some experienced wing help? You got Jeremy Lin out there, Tim Hardaway Jr., Trey Burke. Some of these bottom-feeding teams, in particular the Eastern Conference, if you could offer them a young asset, a young big like Zubac, maybe you could bring back some depth. And then all of a sudden, yeah, man, they could be a threat to the Warriors. They could be a threat, but not off that move alone. As far as LeBron and AD goes and their pairing and how they fit, you see, that is the beauty of Anthony Davis. He fits with anybody. He's so dynamic, so athletic, so skilled. You could put him next to anybody, and that's the major appeal of him. And then as far as personalities go, clearly Anthony Davis is not a type A, so that should work out fine. Schematically on the court, how does it work? How does it work? Really, what I see him being able to do is kind of mask some of LeBron's laziness defensively. And I don't even use laziness as a derogatory term towards LeBron in this sense, because we understand what the mileage and what he's done over his career. We understand why he paces himself and why he's lazy. But you have AD behind him who can switch out on the perimeter, protect the rim with the best of them. That's the biggest thing. And then offensively, it's not so much that they're like a nasty pick and roll duo or anything like that. That's really not LeBron's game. But what I think he can do is let LeBron chill until about 6 minutes left in the third, and then he could hit that battery pack and take over and close games. And if you remember, like the first 10 games of the season, remember LeBron, he was very passive. It was passive LeBron. And it was like, yo, did Father Time finally catch up with LeBron, or what is he doing here, right? And he was gauging his new teammates, but two, he's trying to pace himself. And it didn't work out with this young Lakers team right now with this roster. You saw about 10 games in, he was like, all right, I'm going to have to carry us from the jump. I can't be resting. I can't be taking halves off. And so you bring in AD, and that allows him to chill and then turn it on in the second halves of games. It's not so much that they have this miraculous fit, right? I guess the one thing that I will bring up is if you look at the Robin to LeBron's Batman throughout his career, his sidekicks from D-Wade, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, what they all share in common is they all have pasts with injury. They're all quote unquote injury prone at times. And unfortunately, you got to put AD in that same category at this point. And I don't blame him, but style of play has a lot to do with it, right? He's so athletic, his frame is so big, he just gets put in a lot of compromising positions, particularly in the air, right? When he spins for the lob or he's coming from the weak side to block a shot, he gets hit in the air, he comes down awkward, he's hurt right now, right? And so I will raise the question, if you want to talk about them making two moves, making this big step into contention this season, I will bring up the question, come May, come June, possibly, will AD be there when LeBron needs him? Tell me what y'all think. Are they immediate contenders? What's the next move for them to make? Is this the move to make? Laker fans, who do you want to give up? It's got to be three of them. It's got to be three of them. Kuzma and Ingram have to be two of them. Who's the third guy they give up? Can they wheel and deal it? Is there going to be some funny business, right? With Rich Paul and what's going on? Are they going to give up less than we expect and all of a sudden still have depth? I'm excited to see how this plays out. Hopefully, they get AD by the time the Lakers play the Dubs again, man. That will be all the way up. Anyway, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.
I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.